I had always dreamed of owning a home, one that I could truly call my own, a place where I didn't have to feel like a guest or a burden. Growing up in a crowded house with 4 siblings and extended family constantly coming and going, privacy was a luxury I never had. When I finally got my promotion at the bank, I made a silent promise to myself I would save every penny and buy a house, in secret. I didn't want the usual family drama, the endless opinions, or, worse, the pressure to let relatives move in just for a while. I knew how that story went. In my family, just for a while could stretch into years. So, for 2 long years, I saved in silence, cutting back on every unnecessary expense. I pretended to be struggling financially, even borrowing small amounts from my mom once or twice so no one would suspect I was hiding anything. Finally, after what felt like forever, I found the house. It wasn't a mansion, but it was perfect for me. A modest 3-bedroom home with a small garden, high walls for privacy, and a big mango tree in the backyard. The moment I stepped into it, I knew it was mine. I signed the papers and moved in quietly, telling no one except my best friend, Anita, who had helped me through the house hunting process. My plan was simple: live there quietly for a few months, settle in, then reveal it to my family on my own terms. But life has a funny way of twisting even the best-laid plans. The first few weeks were pure bliss. I'd come home from work, kick off my shoes, and enjoy the peaceful silence. No loud arguments over the TV, no cousins barging into my room uninvited, no mother scolding me for staying out late. I decorated slowly, each piece of furniture carefully chosen. It felt good knowing that every item in the house was bought with my hard-earned money. Still, there was a nagging fear at the back of my mind. I knew my family. Secrets never stayed buried for long. One Saturday morning, I was sipping tea in my cozy kitchen when my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. "Where are you? I haven't seen you at the house for a week." I stared at the screen, guilt prickling at me. I quickly typed back. "Busy with work, Mom. I'll come by soon." I didn't want her to suspect anything, so later that day, I drove to the family house with a smile plastered on my face. My mom, Evelyn, was bustling around as usual, scolding my younger brother for leaving his shoes in the hallway. "You've been scarce lately, Amina," she said, hugging me tightly. "Is work stressing you that much?" I gave a small laugh. "You know how it is. Long hours at the bank." She nodded but didn't press further. Still, her sharp eyes lingered on me for a moment too long, as though trying to read my thoughts. For the next few weeks, I was extra careful. I always left the lights off in my new house during the day and never parked my car outside. I didn't even tell Anita to visit unless it was late in the evening. Everything seemed fine, until the day it all came crashing down. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon when I decided to run a quick errand before heading home. As I turned onto my street, something strange caught my eye. A familiar car was parked right outside my gate. My heart skipped a beat. It was my mother's car. For a moment, I froze, gripping the steering wheel. Maybe it was a coincidence, I told myself. Maybe she was visiting someone else nearby. But then I saw her. There she was, my mother, standing right in front of my gate, chatting animatedly with 2 women. As I drove closer, my stomach dropped. The women were my brother's wife, Lillian, and a friend of hers I vaguely recognized. And they were holding shopping bags. No. This couldn't be happening. I parked a little further down the road, my pulse pounding in my ears. From where I stood, partially hidden behind a tree, I could see everything. My mom unlocked my gate with my spare key, a key I had given her years ago for emergencies when I still lived at the family house. She hadn't even asked for permission to use it. As if that wasn't bad enough, I heard her voice carrying through the air, proud and loud. "Welcome, welcome. Come in, come in. This is the house I was telling you about." The 3 of them disappeared inside, leaving me rooted to the spot, shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. I waited outside, my mind racing. Why was she here? How did she even know about the house? I hadn't told a soul besides Anita. Then another, more chilling thought hit me. Was my mother trying to give my house to someone else? It sounded crazy, but this was my family. My mom had always been overly involved in our lives, sometimes to the point of controlling. And Lillian, well, she had been hinting about wanting to move out of her small apartment with my brother for months. I decided to wait until they came out, planning to confront them right then and there. But minutes turned into nearly an hour, and they were still inside. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I marched up to the gate, unlocked it quietly, and crept toward the house. Through the living room window, I saw them clearly. Lillian was walking around with wide eyes, pointing at the walls and laughing, while her friend snapped pictures on her phone. My mother was practically beaming, gesturing proudly as though she owned the place. "This is the master bedroom," my mother said, opening a door dramatically. "See how spacious it is? Perfect for you and the baby." Baby? I froze. My brother and Lillian weren't even expecting a child, or at least, I thought they weren't. Suddenly, everything felt wrong. My mother was making plans. My house was being shown off like a gift, like some kind of prize she was giving away. My blood boiled. I didn't even think, I stormed inside. The moment they saw me, the room went silent. "Amina," my mother gasped, her face draining of color. "What are you doing here?" I glared at her, my voice shaking. "What am I doing here? This is my house, Mom. The real question is, what are you doing here, with them?" Lillian's friend quickly tucked her phone away, clearly uncomfortable. Lillian herself looked like a deer caught in headlights. My mother stammered, I was just showing them around. No harm done." "No harm done?" I snapped. "You broke into my home without my permission. How did you even know about this place?" She hesitated, then mumbled, "I overheard you talking to Anita on the phone last month." I was curious. I clenched my fists. Curious enough to bring guests? To act like this house belongs to you? Lillian stepped forward, trying to calm me. "Amina, please, don't be angry. Your mom was just telling us how she wanted to surprise you. She thought maybe we could stay here for a while. You know, just until we get back on our feet." My head spun. "Stay here?" My mother finally spoke, her tone sharp. "Your brother and his wife need a proper home, Amina. That apartment of theirs is too small. And you're single, you don't need all this space." Her words cut deeper than I expected. "So what, Mom? You decided to give away my house behind my back?" Her jaw tightened. "Family takes care of family." I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. All my sacrifices, the late nights at work, the loneliness, it was all about to be stolen right in front of my eyes. "No," I said firmly, my voice trembling but resolute. "This is my home. I worked for it, I paid for it, and I decide who lives here. Not you." The room fell silent. My mother's face hardened, and I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before, cold determination. "This conversation isn't over," she said quietly, grabbing her bag. "Let's go, Lillian." They walked past me without another word, leaving me standing in the middle of my living room, my heart pounding. As the gate clicked shut behind them, I realized the fight had only just begun. The house felt eerily silent after they left, but my mind was anything but quiet. I paced the living room, anger simmering inside me. My mother had crossed a line, no, she had bulldozed through it. This wasn't just about boundaries, it was about control. That night, Anita came over, bringing comfort food and her usual blunt honesty. "You should have seen them, Anita," I said, pushing my plate away untouched. She was practically giving my house away. Anita shook her head in disbelief. "Your mom's got some nerve." But this is what we talked about, Amina. You knew she'd try to get involved once she found out. I didn't think it would be this bad, I muttered, rubbing my temples. And the worst part? She made it sound like I don't deserve this place because I'm single. Anita's eyes softened. You deserve every brick of this house. Don't let her make you doubt that. I nodded, but the pit in my stomach remained. 2 days later, I went to visit my mother at the family house, hoping to talk things out calmly. Big mistake. The moment I walked in, she was already scolding me. Amina, you embarrassed me in front of Lillian and her friend, she snapped. You stormed in like some kind of stranger. Because you were a stranger in my home, I shot back. You trespassed, Mom. You lied. Her expression turned cold. Don't be dramatic. I was trying to help your brother's family. They need that house more than you do. I stared at her, speechless. You can't just decide that for me. This isn't a community property situation, this is my house. But she wouldn't listen. She launched into a guilt-laced speech about family unity, how she'd sacrificed everything for us, how I was selfish for keeping the house to myself. I couldn't take it anymore. Mom, this isn't about family. This is about control. You want to decide where everyone lives, what everyone does. Well, I'm not a child anymore. I won't let you dictate my life. Her lips thinned into a bitter smile. We'll see about that. The following week, things got worse. I came home one evening to find a moving truck parked outside my gate. My heart sank. Inside, Lillian and my brother, Daniel, were unloading boxes, with my mother supervising like a general at war. What on earth is going on? I screamed. Daniel dropped a box, startled. Amina! Mom said you agreed we could move in. My mother's face was infuriatingly calm. I knew you wouldn't mind. You have so much space, and they have none. It's only temporary. No, I said, my voice breaking. You lied to him. You lied to everyone. Lillian looked torn, glancing between us. Maybe we should leave, Daniel. But Daniel shook his head. We have nowhere else to go. My mother folded her arms. This is happening, Amina. You can either accept it gracefully or be the selfish daughter who turned her own family away. It was a masterstroke of manipulation. Even Daniel was looking at me like I was the villain. Something inside me snapped. Get out, I said, my voice cold and steady. All of you. Get out now. My mother's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare. I stepped closer, trembling but resolute. Try me. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Daniel and Lillian began gathering their things. My mother didn't budge, glaring at me with pure venom. This isn't over, she hissed before finally storming out. As the gate slammed shut, I realized the battle lines had been drawn. My own family had become my enemies, and the war was far from over. For the next few days, I barely slept. I kept replaying my mother's words over and over. Family takes care of family. But if that were true, why did it feel like she was trying to destroy me? I decided to dig deeper. My instincts told me this wasn't just about giving Lillian and Daniel a place to stay. There was something my mother wasn't telling me. I started by talking to Lillian. She seemed genuinely embarrassed about what happened and agreed to meet me at a nearby cafe, away from my mother's prying eyes. Over steaming mugs of tea, I asked gently, Lillian, be honest with me. Did Mom tell you anything unusual? Anything about why she was so desperate for you to move into my house? Lillian hesitated, fidgeting with her cup. She mentioned something about security. Said the house needed to stay in the family because some debts were involved. Debts? I frowned. What debts? I paid for the house outright. That's all she said, Lillian admitted. But, Amina, she seemed really scared. My chest tightened. Fear? My mother wasn't the type to scare easily. That evening, I went through some old files at the family house while my mother was out. Buried under stacks of papers, I found a loan agreement with a local moneylender. The amount owed was staggering. My mother had borrowed a huge sum of money in my father's name years ago and never paid it back. But what chilled me to the bone was the clause at the bottom: failure to repay would result in forfeiture of assets. And listed under assets was my house's exact address. My hands trembled as I read it. My mother had secretly used my house as collateral without ever telling me. That was why she'd been so desperate to move Daniel and Lillian in, so that when the lenders came, she could claim it wasn't mine alone. She hadn't been protecting the family. She'd been protecting herself. Fueled by a mix of rage and heartbreak, I confronted her that night. She didn't even look surprised when I slammed the papers onto the table. So it's true, I said, my voice cracking. You gambled away my future to cover your mistakes. Her eyes hardened. I did what I had to do. That money kept this family afloat. Paid for Daniel's school, your sister's medical bills, food on our table. You think life is cheap, Amina? That doesn't give you the right to steal from me. I shouted, tears streaming down my face. You could have told me. We could have figured something out together. She shook her head, unrepentant. You wouldn't have understood. You've always been so independent. I knew you'd choose yourself over us. Those words cut deep. I took a shaky breath. You're wrong. I've been choosing this family my whole life. But not anymore. The next day, I met with a lawyer and began the process of legally securing my house under my name alone. It was messy and painful, but I refused to let my mother's debts destroy me. When I told her what I'd done, she didn't yell or argue. She just looked at me with cold, distant eyes. You've turned your back on us, she said quietly. No, Mom, I whispered, my voice trembling. I've stopped letting you control me. As I stood in my empty living room that night, the silence felt different, heavier. I'd saved my house, but at a terrible cost, my relationship with my mother. I realized then that family isn't about blind sacrifice or control. It's about respect. Without that, even the closest bonds can crumble. And sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is protect yourself, even from the people you love most. Love doesn't mean losing yourself. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. Even family must respect your choices, or they risk losing you entirely.